Hey guys, welcome to part 2, part the second, part 2, part 2 of my scary films and horror films DVD collection. Okay, so here we have Fallen. This was a really good film. You might not have heard of this actually. It didn't get the attention it deserved, I think. It's got Denzel Washington and John Goodman in. And it reminded me a little bit of Seven. It's about this guy who's possessed by a demon, and the demon can transmit itself through touch, so it can travel from body to body. And Denzel Washington's the cop trying to hunt him down, and he follows a trail of these pretty grisly, gruesome murders. But yeah, do check that out if you haven't heard of it. I thought that was kind of a bit of a hidden classic. 1408. This is another film based on a book by Stephen King. I thought this was pretty good. It's got John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson in it, and it's kind of about this haunted hotel room, and it goes really weird towards the end in the way that most Stephen King films tend to. But yeah, this is really cool. I think this is the director's cut, so it's got some scenes not viewable in the cinema, and it's got a director's commentary, and yeah, lots of deleted scenes, stuff like that. So this is worth checking out. In a similar kind of vein, we've got Apartment 1303. This is a Japanese horror movie. It's actually not a great one. I'm usually quite a big fan of Japanese horror movies. I think they're really, really creepy. But this one, similar to that one, is about a haunted room. This is in particular is an apartment rather than a hotel room. And it's kind of predictable stuff. It's got the kind of the girl Japanese ghost spirits in with the long black hair and the white faces. I'm sure you know the type that seems to be in most of them. But it's okay. It's got a pretty weird thing towards the end where the girl's hair comes alive and tries to kill people. Apparently it's from the team behind The Grudge. I don't know the team behind The Grudge. Maybe that means the producers or something, or people who went to see it or something. I don't know. This is Half Light, starring Demi Moore, and I got this mainly because the cover looked pretty creepy. It looked cool, and boy, I couldn't have been more wrong. This is a pile of poo. Demi Moore plays a woman whose son has died, and she goes and tries to write a book in a little secluded cottage by the side of a lighthouse, and thinks that she sees her son, sees his ghost, and goes a bit crazy, and not much happens. So give that one a miss. White Noise, this one's okay. This has got Michael Keaton in it, famous for being Batman and Dick Tracy, amongst other people. This is pretty good. This is about a guy who records the voices of the dead. It's called EVP, I think, Electronic Voice Phenomenon. If you haven't heard of that, then do look it up on the internet. It's a real, well, it's claimed to be a real thing. Some people think that you can capture ghost voices on videos and stuff. And it's okay. The second time I watched it, I thought it was better than I remembered, actually. It's actually quite scary towards the end. This is the sequel, White Noise the Light. And I was surprised. I actually think this is better than the original. It's got the guy from Serenity and Firefly in. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure you recognise him. And he has a near-death experience, and ever since then he's able to see who's going to die soon. They've got kind of a light around them, and he knows that unless he intervenes, their number is up. Basically, it reminded me a little bit of Final Destination, but a little bit better. Okay, Seven. This is a classic, very very good movie. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey plays the killer in it. Very, very good film. Gwyneth Paltrow's in it as well. She ends up decapitated at the end of it as well. So any film which features that has got to be good. This is a pretty dull DVD though. There's no special features. It's quite an early DVD. I remember getting it years and years and years ago. So it's in the days before they thought the extra features were necessary. Boxing Helena. This is My Girlfriend's. I presume it's kind of a horror film. I haven't seen it, but apparently it's about a woman who is in a car accident and this guy keeps her in a box. And I don't know, it's supposed to be pretty grim. I think it's banned in this country as well. This is a Region 1 disc. So don't tell anybody that I've got it, otherwise I might go to prison. This is The Green Mile, another one based on a Stephen King book, with Tom Hanks and the big guy, who I can't remember his name, but he always plays the big guy, because he's a big guy. And this is really, really good. Pretty grim in places, actually. I remember the electric chair sequences. I found those pretty horrible. But it's a very good kind of mystical, supernatural film based in a prison on death row. This is The Eye. This is the Japanese original. The remake is nowhere near as good, so don't bother with that. I wish they'd stop remaking these films, actually, because the originals are really good. With the possible exception of The Ring, I think all of the remakes have been weaker. But this is really, really creepy, and if you can somehow manage to put up with subtitles, then do watch it. I know they're a real problem for some people, but it's really good. This isn't really good. This is The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage. And this is probably one of the worst horror films I've ever seen. It's a remake of the original, which I've also got somewhere. I forgot to show you that, actually. But the original has Christopher Lee in it, in a very creepy role. But this is just completely unspectacular, really not worth bothering with, pretty pointless. Nicolas Cage is awful in it, so don't bother with that. What Lies Beneath, which only cost me £2. I think I got this from a post office, actually. I remember the post office started selling DVDs a little while ago, strangely enough. You wouldn't think of going to the post office to buy a DVD, but this was in their sale. I've seen this years ago. I can't remember a great deal about it, but Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer are in it. Michelle Pfeiffer. And I remember it being good. It's kind of a ghost story. I think she realises that her husband has murdered someone in the past and the house is being haunted by the spirit of that woman. Something like that. As you can see, this has also got the first 10 minutes of The Hills Have Eyes on it. So it must have been released as a kind of tie-in thing, scary movie sort of thing. I've seen The Hills Have Eyes as well. I don't have it on DVD, but I thought that was pretty horrible, actually. A really grim film. This is Dark Water, the Japanese original. Again, the remake was similar, but not as good. It was like the original, but with all the good bits stripped away. So do watch this. This is creepy. Again, it's subtitles, so if you can put up with subtitles, then watch it. It's good. Has ghost children in, which I think are always pretty creepy. This is Evil Dead 2, the classic, with Bruce Campbell and his chainsaw. This is obviously a horror classic, what we're seeing. Very freaky film. Directed by Sam Raimi in the days before he was making Spider-Man films. I need to get the first Evil Dead as well, actually. I haven't got that yet. This is The Others, 2-disc collector's edition with Nicole Kidman. This was really, really good. It's not a gory film at all. I don't think there's any gore in it, but I thought it was really creepy. I kind of have a weakness for really well-made supernatural ghost films. I think they're probably scarier than any others. Scarier than like all the hack and slash films. But it's very, very well made. Nice twist at the end. I won't give it away. But if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Pretty good DVD as well. Quite a few good special features. So yes, do check that one out. And finally we have Cube. I wasn't sure whether to include this or not, but I think it is a horror film because people get murdered, well not murdered, but killed in very grisly sort of ways. And it's a pretty low budget thing, but is well made, definitely, for the money that they had. It's about these people who wake up in a cube, like a cube-shaped room, and they go from room to room, and each room looks exactly the same, and they have to try and find their way out of the maze of cubes, and each one of them gets killed one by one in kind of there's a series of traps in each cube, and they get killed in really grisly ways. So yeah, that's pretty much all my horror films. So I shall see you in a future video where I shall be talking about something entirely different. Goodbye.